Well, good morning, everyone. I am Sarah Gold. I am the new business development and consortium manager at WiLS. And I'm happy you've joined us. And I am pleased to um, welcome and announce a new vendor partnership with Lingopie. I'm here with Shai Jalfin, VP of Business Development for Lingopie, who will take us through this unique product for language learning. Before I turn it over to Shai, I just want to let you know that this is being recorded and the recording will be sent out to registrants um, in the next couple days. So welcome, Shai. Thank you for joining us today, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for organizing this, and thank you to everybody for joining the webinar. My name is Shai Jalfin. I'm a VP here at Lingopie. I happen to be an avid language learner, and among other things, I oversee Lingopie's library product. As Sarah mentioned, we're a language learning platform. You can really think of Lingopie as a Netflix for language learner. And of course, shortly we'll see what that means exactly and how we do it. But in a nutshell, we basically take real TV shows, real movies, real music videos from around the world. We in-license that content and then add an interactive layer on top of that content that turns those episodes into language learning lessons. Um, Today, I'll talk a little bit about language learning and why we created Lingopie. Of course, I'd like to show you a live on-screen demonstration of the platform so you can really get a feel for what Lingopie is and what the learning experience is like for patrons who are interested in language learning. We can spend some time discussing what integrating and rolling Lingopie out might look like for libraries, and of course, leave some time for questions and answers if there are any. Of course, we don't have to wait until the end. I'm also happy to take questions as we go along. So, don't hesitate to just shout them out if you got them. Before we begin, I'd love to share a little personal anecdote with you, if I may. I'm a native Spanish speaker, and my family emigrated to the Boston area when I was about 9 years old. English is my third language, but at the time, I didn't speak a word of it. I enrolled in an ESL program for about a year, and throughout that year and for the better part of my childhood, I spent a considerable amount of time watching lots and lots and lots of TV. Probably not all stuff I should have been watching at that age, but I certainly enjoyed it, and it certainly helped me catch up to speed, not only with the language, but also with the culture, the people, the inside jokes. And as I grew up, I would often be asked, "How did you learn? Why don't you have an accent?" etc. And my answer was always, "Oh boy, I watched lots and lots of TV." And of course, many of my colleagues at Lingopie have similar stories for how they learned languages. And based on our experiences and some of the frustrations or inefficiencies we had at the time, we created Lingopie. So, as I mentioned, we basically partner with many of the top media companies in the world and we license their content. It's authentic content that's aired in these countries as entertainment. It's not specifically created for the purpose of language learning. And what we do is we add an interactive technology language learning layer that sits on top of that content and turns these episodes into language lessons. Before we get started with the demo itself, I'd like to share a few thoughts about language learning. First, language learning takes a lot of time and effort, right? We often see folks that all of a sudden will get really excited and motivated to learn a language. In my case, it was assimilation, but it could be anything. It could be connecting with heritage and relatives. It could be planning a trip. It could be falling in love with a country, meeting a romantic interest, a new friend. Regardless, it's a great start that these folks are inspired to start learning, and they'll either decide to, enroll in a class, a group class, or get a tutor, and more and more and more, they're likely to interact with some sort of software or download an app. And there are many great tools out there for folks, but what invariably happens is that life sort of gets in the way, right? They get home from school or work, it's been a long day, and now it's time to do translation exercises, yippee, or, memorization, or my favorite, learning grammar. So at first, it's okay, it's tolerable. You make a lot of progress in that first week. But within less than 2 weeks, the overwhelming majority of folks fail and quit. They start realizing that this is going to take a lot of work. It's not going to happen overnight. It feels like work, and very quickly, within 2 weeks, most users give up on using the apps, right? But just about everyone, regardless of how tired they are at the end of the day, they make a little time, even 15 minutes, to watch TV every day. Some more than others, right? And that's sort of part of the idea behind Lingopie. If you can take great content that people love watching and turn that content into an effective learning opportunity, it'll be a lot easier to integrate learning into everyday life and not make it feel like a chore. And so people will stick with it longer and achieve better results. So there's a lot of data out there about the efficacy of learning with captioned media. There are tons and tons of studies for 20, 30 years at least. Learning through comprehensible input, learning grammar through immersion, learning in context improves with recall, improves listening comprehension, which, by the way, is one of the most important skills. When someone decides to learn a language, typically they envision themselves, they picture themselves having real world conversations with other native speakers or with others, right? They don't picture themselves, translating strange sentences in an app or, you know, doing something like that, right? And while practicing translation exercises and grammar drills, it's all very well and good and part of the process. If you can't understand what someone is saying to you, then it'll be just about impossible to hold a conversation with anybody, right? And for most folks, that's the goal. The goal is to be able to, have these conversations. So very underrated skill that a lot of the apps sort of, don't pay enough attention to. The problem with learning with captioned media is if you just go ahead and turn on Netflix in Spanish, you're going to have a very hard time following along. The ideal learning experience is being able to listen to Netflix in Spanish while reading the subtitles in Spanish so that you can work on your reading and your listening comprehension. But if you don't speak Spanish, you're going to have a very hard time following the plot. And if you watch with the English subtitles only, you're going to miss out on a lot of the listening and reading comprehension that's so important. This and other frustrations was why Lingopie was created. So let me just show it to you. Okay, so over here, I assume everyone can see the screen. It looks like I'm sharing it. Yes. So over here, we see what the catalog looks like when I first log in, right? So, you can see it resembles Netflix or Apple TV or another video on demand product. We have over 3,000 real TV shows, movies, music videos, audiobooks that have been transcribed and translated. We have just about every genre and, anything from comedies to dramas, kids programming, documentaries, a whole lot more than that. Right now, we're looking at the Spanish catalog, but each license includes all of the languages. I can switch languages very easily if I'm learning more than one. Using the filter button, I can search by dialect, level, genre, duration to find the type of content I am looking for. So I'm partial to shows in Spanish from Argentina. Let's say I'm at a moderate level. I'm looking for something short to just get my feet wet here. I'll apply the filter. It'll narrow down some TV shows I can watch for my level. I'm going to choose this one. Click on it and you'll see it'll start. It'll look a lot like a Netflix show. So when I start an episode, the platform will recommend that I pay attention to specific words, right? Words that I will encounter based on my level. When I create an account on Lingopie, I answer a number of questions. I select my level, and based on that, the platform adapts to my level. Now, the platform continues to adapt to my level as I interact with it. And I also can override a lot of the settings as I interact with the platform. So let's get the show started. These are some of the words for my specific level I may want to pay attention to. Okay, it looks good. I see that the video speed here has been slowed down, so it's at 90%, not quite full speed based on my level. Now start watching. Now, at the beginning of the episode, I'll see a side script over here on the right-hand side of the screen, right? This makes it very easy to sort of get familiar with the content ahead of time before, I start having to really pay attention to, what is being said. I can familiarize with myself with the content before hearing it spoken. It makes it a lot easier to follow. It also allows me to look back or ahead as I'm watching the show in case I miss something, but I don't want to rewind and interrupt my viewing. For now, I'll turn my script off so I can watch the show in full screen mode. But I do find this extremely helpful. So right away, I can draw your attention to these dual language subtitles, which I can turn on or off depending on my level. You'll see that the captions themselves are interactive, meaning that if I hover over them, you can quickly see that the different parts of speech are underlined in different colors. Words are translated as I click on them. Right? Whenever I do click on a phrase, for example, the program will break it down into its individual component parts. You'll see the parts of speech. You'll see the infinitive form in this case. So a lot of little important tidbits that I want to pay attention to as I'm interacting with a platform. If I click on the word itself, in addition to translating that word, I'll also, at the top of my screen, you'll see it'll save that word so I can go back and practice it in the form of games, quizzes, flashcards, and other activities right within the platform. The video player itself has many intuitive features specifically for language learners. It was designed specifically with language learners in mind. For example, I showed you I can alter the speed of the playback, right? So I can more easily follow along. Now, to train their ears, students will often need to hear the same sentence over and over again. If you've ever used video to improve your language acquisition skills, you'll remember that you often hit rewind quite a bit and had to listen to the same sentence over and over again to train your ears. So on Netflix, what you'd have to do is you'd have to, hit the rewind button or go 10 seconds back and wait to hear the sentence again, listen to the sentence, and then repeat. Instead, on Lingopie, we have this very useful looping tool, which basically just plays the sentence over and over and over again, allowing the patron to pay attention to it, process it, and then move on when they're ready. If I do want to, go back or forward, instead of rewinding 10 seconds or rewinding too far, I can just basically press the previous caption or next caption button, and it'll just go on to the previous or next caption in case I miss something. Students can also practice their pronunciation using the say it feature here. So if I come across any dialogue, anything I want to practice, I basically just press this little microphone button and I'm ready to practice my pronunciation. So, for example, lechuga, maggiolo en mi verdureria. How do I do? All right, 73. Not so great for a native speaker, but I can listen to myself. I can hear my voice over and over again, and I can really, really train my ear. It's a really fun feature that lots of users really enjoy. Sometimes, especially for beginners, it's a little hard to make out the speech with some of the accents. So we have this feature right here. It's a speech to text function, which will basically pronounce the sentence in a much more neutral manner, much easier to follow along with for beginners. Okay. Now, I mentioned that grammar is one of the least fun parts of learning a language. We have a product that's built specifically for schools and universities. And as a result, I speak with many teachers and professors who confess that this is the area that really turns students off from language learning. In fact, in universities, we're seeing many more professors opting to move away from textbooks and move more towards digital resources like Lingopie or others. So at any point, if I find a sentence where I could use just a little bit more understanding of the sentence structure or the verbs being used, I can basically click on this AI-powered feature, which is this light bulb right here, and it'll break down the sentence and explain exactly what's going on. In this case, it's explaining the future tense, okay? And I can do this for any line in any movie, TV show, music video, right? As long as, I click on that button, okay? At any point as I'm watching the episode, I can use this script to, move forward or backwards in case I miss something. I can click on any words and, get definitions right within the script. I can also take a look at all of the vocabulary I'm learning, right? So in this case, I have all the vocabulary from this episode right here with it, along with its translation, with all the parts of speech. I can see which ones I've practiced. I can, mark, I can listen, I can mark words as known, or I can take a quiz.
Rápido.
So in this case, you'll see that the scene plays, and so I can hear that word in context. Rápido means fast. Okay, got it. The next word. 25. Okay, great.
No encarguen.
Don't order. Got it.
¿Por qué?
Okay. Because, okay, I know that one. Okay. Tiene, you have. Okay, again, the scene is playing right here. It's showing me that word in context, which is really going to help me not only as a hint, but with recall later on, because just straight memorization of flashcards, not only is it not the most exciting activity, but it's also not the best way to recall it later on. So I'll continue answering these questions. At the end of it, it'll tell me how I did. Okay.
Los verduleros.
And right, I can go back, I can do more quizzes. In this case, I'll just mark that I'm finished watching. Right, it'll take me back to this catalog. Right, and I can choose another episode, or I can practice what I've learned. So right here at the top of the screen, I can see a snapshot of my progress. I can see how long I've spent watching, how many words I've collected, what I've practiced and mastered. So I can click right on this top taskbar, and then I can do all sorts of activities. Over here, I have a list of my vocabulary from all the different shows I watched. I have the translation, the part of speech, any other grammar tip here. I have the last occurrence where I encountered the word or phrase last in what episode. I can shoot right over to that episode if I want to see it again. I know how many times I've seen it and how often I've encountered this word, when the last time I encountered it was. And of course, I can do all sorts of other activities. With this word master, I can basically match words, right? To, kind of practice my vocabulary in a more fun way. Okay, great. Again, I always have the scene playing for me here if I'm stuck or need a hint. Okay, and I have these very neat flashcards. If I do want to use flashcards, which a lot of folks do use flashcards to jog their memory, again, it's a video-based flashcard. It plays the line in context. Okay, other than that, it looks like a regular flashcard. Yes, I know that word. Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure of that one. Oh, I didn't know the word for password. Okay. Likewise, okay, yep, I knew that one, and so on. This, in a nutshell, is what learning is like, what the learning experience is like with Lingopie. You know, we can't always fly to Spain to practice our Spanish, but next to being physically in the country, the next best thing we could do is immerse ourselves in real content, the culture, the people, the stories. Again, but just by watching authentic content. So let me pull the presentation back up. Here. I move on to kind of some of the integration options. So we typically authenticate users based on a referring URL and a library card number. An image link is typically posted prominently somewhere on the library website. And the patron clicks on that link, they're taken to a page that resembles this page right here. And using their library card number, they create an account they can access from anywhere on their phone, tablet, mobile app, desktop, computer, even smart TV. They don't need to go through the library website to access their account once they've sort of gone ahead and created the account the first time. As long as the library account is active, their account remains active. Typically with just information about the library card, the prefix, the format, along with the library domain, we can get a library set up and running usually with just within about a day. So usually very quickly. If there are other authentication options, we're certainly flexible and have a team that's ready to go if we want to explore other types of authentication options. Our libraries, our partner libraries, their success is really our success. We're very, very heavily invested in the rollout. So typically we share a number of resources with them. We'll share a huge folder with lots of digital resources, from product and lifestyle images to social media templates, all sorts of, how-to videos, other videos, other digital assets. And we also send some hard copy materials to the library, like let's say bookmarks that patrons can pick up, which inform them of the great resource the library now has. So we are fully invested in the rollout and making sure, the rollout is successful and that, the resource gets used. I certainly hear from a lot of folks at libraries that say, hey, I'm using a service right now. I'm really disappointed with the usage. When we see the statistics, it doesn't look like anyone's using it. The price tag is very high. One little tidbit I can share with you regarding usage is that on our platform, we have a product that's specific for libraries, specific to schools and universities. We have a separate product for corporate learning, and we have a product that's a direct to consumer, where just folks that want to learn a language can go on our website and they can pay for their own plan. We have about 2 million registered users on our platform. And what I can say about usage is that the yearly plan, which is the more popular plan that individuals might choose, has a renewal rate of over 70%, which is extremely high for any subscription product, but especially in language learning. So definitely something that is more likely to get used than a product which basically feels like doing work, basically, right? We definitely hear from professors and their students saying, hey, I just binge watched an entire series over the weekend. I can't believe how much I've learned. You can spend 10 hours learning on Lingopie over the weekend and, it'll still be a good weekend. If you spend 10 hours, with, a translation app, you might not have the best weekend. It's very difficult to do that. This is what the reporting module looks like. We have customized reporting. So if there's any, data that's, specific to your library that you want to capture, we should be able to accommodate that if you let us know what it is. This is what the typical dashboard looks like. And with about 5 minutes to go for today, I wondered if anybody has any questions for me.
Thanks, Shai. I'm just checking the chat. I'm not sure if people are able to speak, but they can use the chat. I'm going to go ahead and put in, if you're interested in pricing, I'll go ahead and share the link to our price quote request form. Also, Shai, do you provide trials for libraries and systems if they're interested?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's very hard to any platform might look cool if you look at it for 5 minutes or so on the screen, but everybody wants to drive, right? So
Right, exactly. So if people are interested, you can also indicate that in the price quote request form, and I will make sure that gets to Shai and he will get back to you. But thank you very much. I'm very excited about this product. I think we met at PLA, right? In
we did, yes, in
2024.
right.
And we've seen a lot of language learning resources in our time. But this is so unique. It's really not like anything that I've experienced before. So please feel free to reach out, and Shai and I are here to answer any questions. Thanks for joining us today. And again, we will send out a copy of the recording, a link to the recording in the next few days. Thanks so much, Shai.